Chicago is a city that's, defined by these towering, really aggressive skyscrapers piercing the clouds.
Right, it's all harsh right angles and steel beams.
Exactly. And brutal winters, obviously. So why is its most famous, beloved, and iconic modern monument this squat, ground-level silver kidney bean?
It is pretty counterintuitive when you look at the city's history.
It really is. Have you ever found yourself standing in front of a massive piece of public art, shoulder to shoulder with strangers, and just wondered how a giant, silent piece of metal becomes the beating heart of a chaotic city?
Because it's one of those rare phenomena that completely defies standard urban planning.
Yeah.
Like, a city can engineer a beautiful plaza or functional park, but you simply cannot manufacture that kind of magnetic organic attraction.
No, you really can't force it.
When a piece of public art actually anchors a city's identity, it almost feels like lightning in a bottle.
Which is exactly the lightning we are chasing today. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today is to explore a truly fascinating essay by Chicago author and educator John Novick Jr.
It's a great piece of writing.
It really is. And this specific piece was actually selected for inclusion in Novick's ongoing America Actually series. It focuses on Anish Kapoor's legendary Chicago sculpture Cloudgate.
Though, I mean, anyone who has ever visited Chicago knows that practically no one calls it that.
True.
To the general public, it is universally known as the Bean.
The bean. But, we're not just here to talk about a shiny tourist trap.
No, not at all.
We are going to explore how this staggering 110-ton, 33-foot-tall ellipse of polished stainless steel captures the deep, often hidden tension between nature, heavy industry, and the human experience.
There is so much more going on beneath the surface there.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand the sculpture, you have to understand the stage it was built on.
Right, the setting is crucial.
We need to rewind a bit. What was the vibe in Chicago leading up to the grand opening of Millennium Park in 2004?
Well, the context here is everything. Millennium Park wasn't just a modest municipal update, like, putting in some new benches and planting a few trees.
Not exactly a small landscaping project.
No, this was a massive, highly ambitious project built on 25 acres of old industrial railroad land.
Just a huge, ugly, sunken rail yard, right?
Exactly, right along the east side of Michigan Avenue. The city decided to cover that industrial scar with a state-of-the-art public space.
And that could not have been cheap.
The final price tag absolutely matched the ambition. It was roughly $475 million.
Almost $500 million just to reclaim a rail yard.
Yeah, it was a massive investment.
With that kind of money on the line, the city planners must have had a very specific vision for what the crown jewel of this park was going to be.
They absolutely did. The sure bet among the planners was that Frank Gehry's Pritzker Music Pavilion would be the undisputed artistic icon.
Looking at the photos of the Gehry Pavilion, it's easy to see why they thought that. It's a stunning piece of architecture.
It really is a masterpiece in its own right.
It has these massive brushed stainless steel ribbons that curve and explode outward above the stage. Novick actually describes it in his essay as looking like ribbons on a gift box.
Yeah, it's a perfect visual. And plus, the engineering of the sound delivery system is supposed to be incredible.
Yeah, how does that work?
It uses this steel trellis system that stretches over the Great Lawn, suspending speakers to create an acoustic environment that mimics an indoor concert hall.
Wow, outside. That's amazing.
It's a marvel. It was designed to carry Chicago boldly into the 21st century.
They really wanted to make a statement.
They did. In his essay, Novick captures the underlying attitude of the city's planners at the time. He points out that the pavilion was a statement, demonstrating that even if Chi-Town still ain't ready for political reform when it comes to world-class art and architecture, the Windy City wasn't about to settle for business as usual.
That quote perfectly encapsulates Chicago's swagger.
Oh, completely.
They were swinging for the fences, trying to build something that would define the modern era, but then the script gets flipped.
It really does.
Fast forward a couple of years to the spring of 2006. A Bombay-born English sculptor named Anish Kapoor officially dedicates Cloudgate.
Right.
And almost overnight, this weird silver blob steals the spotlight from Gehry's masterpiece.
It completely upended the intended hierarchy of the park.
It's kind of hilarious.
It is. The city spent millions setting up one specific architectural wonder to be the star. And the public spontaneously walked right past it and crowned another.
That public adoption is fascinating to me, especially because part of taking ownership of something means naming it.
Yeah, they claimed it for themselves.
The public looked at this elliptical curved shape Immediately thought of a legume and christened it the bean.
Which is pretty funny when you think about it.
But in reading Novik's essay, I realized that nickname completely misses the artist's actual inspiration. Kapoor wasn't thinking about vegetables at all, was he?
Not even remotely. Kapoor is known for creating abstract forms that have an organic, elemental root.
So the bean shape was just a total accident.
Basically, yeah. Calling it the bean acknowledges that the shape feels natural rather than geometric. But his actual inspiration was a droplet of liquid mercury.
A droplet of mercury, I have to admit, that feels a bit counterintuitive.
How so?
Well, if you're building a defining monument for a city known for its aspirational, towering, aggressive skyscrapers, a city built on steel girders and sharp edges, why base your ultimate 21st century symbol on a ground-level drop of liquid?
What's fascinating here is the dual nature of liquid mercury itself.
Okay, tell me more about that.
When you look at the physical properties of mercury, it perfectly mirrors the character of Chicago. Liquid mercury, which the ancient Egyptians actually discovered thousands of years ago, is entirely unique.
Because it's a liquid, right?
Exactly. It is the only metal on the periodic table that exists naturally in a liquid state at room temperature.
A metal that actually flows. It defies our basic expectations of what a heavy element is supposed to do.
And it has these highly practical, everyday applications.
Like what?
Throughout history, we've used it in thermometers, electrical switches, fluorescent lights, and industrial manufacturing.
It's very utilitarian.
It is a deeply useful industrial material, but it is also famous for being highly toxic.
Right, the Mad Hatter disease and all that.
Exactly. It is a potent neurotoxin.
It's like a beautiful but dangerous wild animal.
That's a great way to put it.
You look at a pool of liquid mercury, and it's mesmerizing. It's impossibly shiny, it moves in this fascinating way, and human instinct makes you want to reach out and touch it.
But you definitely shouldn't.
Right, because it holds this inherent quiet threat. That actually makes it a brilliant analogy for Chicago.
It really does.
It's a physical reminder that nature has an edge. It aligns with Chicago's own gritty, tough reputation, a history that traces all the way back to the frontier danger of Fort Dearborn.
The inspiration of liquid mercury captures both the relentless utility and the inherent danger of the city perfectly.
But translating that concept into reality is where the story gets really wild.
Oh, the engineering is mind-boggling.
Because a droplet of mercury is held together by surface tension. It's fluid. Replicating that flawless, weightless fluidity using 110 tons of rigid, jagged steel requires an intensely unnatural industrial process.
It is an absolute masterclass in metallurgy.
This is the part of the deep dive that really broke my brain. I'm looking at the engineering notes, and I just don't understand how you built this.
It wasn't easy, that's for sure.
If this thing weighs 110 tons, it obviously isn't just one solid block of metal dropped into the part. How did they actually piece it together to look like a liquid drop?
So the sculpture is essentially a hollow shell supported by a massive internal framework.
Okay, so it's hollow.
Right. The visible surface is composed of 168 separate plates of stainless steel.
168 plates.
But it isn't standard steel. Kapoor required a very specific alloy created by melting chromium and nickel with other elements, specifically nitrogen.
Wait, how do you alloy a gas like nitrogen into solid steel, and why would you even need to?
It's a highly specialized process done in a controlled vacuum environment during the smelting process.
Oh.
Yeah, the nitrogen gets trapped within the crystalline structure of the metal. They needed this specific composition because standard steel wouldn't work.
Why not?
Well, the chromium prevents the sculpture from rusting in the harsh Chicago winters, while the nitrogen adds immense structural rigidity.
Okay, that makes sense.
That rigidity was absolutely crucial because of what had to happen next, which was the polishing.
Because if you have 168 separate plates, you naturally have seams.
Lots of seams.
But when you stand in front of Cloudgate, you cannot see a single line. It looks like it was dropped from space in one piece. How on earth did they hide the welds?
Achieving that seamless illusion was a monumental headache.
I can really imagine.
They couldn't just weld it normally. The construction crews had to use specialized plasma welding techniques.
Plasma welding sounds intense.
Very. Then they built massive, custom-designed automated milling machines that essentially drove over the surface of the sculpture on tracks, grinding down the weld seams millimeter by millimeter.
You're kidding.
No. And after the machines did their work, teams of workers had to go in and hand polish the entire surface.
Hand polish 110 tons of steel.
Yep. They actually had to build a giant tent over the sculpture to control temperature and protect it from the elements while they worked.
Grinding down heavy steel until it becomes an optical illusion. That sounds impossibly tedious.
It was so tedious and fraught with unprecedented engineering challenges that it delayed the official dedication by a full year.
A whole year late.
Yeah, the artists and the engineers were essentially inventing new fabrication methods on the fly.
And that never comes cheap.
Definitely not. As you might expect, that caused the budget to skyrocket, ballooning the sculpture's final cost to around $23 million.
$23 million for a single piece of public art is astronomical.
It's a huge sum.
But hearing the sheer physical labor involved, you see why Kapoor refused to compromise.
Yeah.
That seamlessness isn't just a neat visual trick.
No, it's central to the meaning of the piece.
Right, because if you could see the welds, you would just see a big metal building. You would see the hand of man.
This raises an important question about the artist's intent. Why go to such extreme lengths and spend millions of extra dollars just to hide the seams?
What's the payoff?
Kapoor's core theme here is that modern urban life and our organic roots are intertwined.
Interesting.
By making it perfectly seamless, the steel itself honors Chicago's rich, handcrafted industrial past and its legacy of erecting steel skyscrapers.
It's a nod to the city's DNA.
Exactly. But that fluid, unbroken, organic shape strips away the feeling of a factory and ties us right back to the natural elemental world.
It bridges the gap between the foundry and the forest.
Beautifully said.
So now we have this painstakingly crafted $23 million seamless drop of toxic mercury sitting in a park.
Yes, quite the addition to the neighborhood.
What happens when you drop an object like that into a dense urban space? Because the sculpture isn't static.
Right, it's constantly interacting with its environment.
And that brings us to the actual title. Novik points out that the name Cloudgate isn't just a poetic, airy-fairy label. It's essentially a set of literal instructions for what the piece does.
It is entirely functional.
How so?
The polished stainless steel shell acts as a massive 360-degree elliptical mirror. It is designed to capture the clouds, the vast Midwestern sky, and the towering Michigan Avenue skyline, and drag them down to the ground.
I want to read a specific quote from Novik's essay here because he zeroes in on the psychological effect this reflection has on a viewer.
Oh yeah, go for it.
He writes that it is, and I quote, creating a powerful perspective that's awe-inspiring, that's natural, and that serves to place the buildings that form the skyline on a more human scale.
That last part is so crucial.
I have to admit, I struggled with that last part at first. How does a 33-foot-tall, 110-ton piece of solid steel make massive skyscrapers feel more human? That sounds completely backward.
Think about how a convex mirror works.
Okay.
When you are standing on the sidewalk in a city like Chicago, the sheer mass of the brick, mortar, and concrete towering hundreds of feet above you can feel oppressive.
Definitely. You crane your neck and just feel tiny.
The architecture dominates you. You feel very small. But the severe curvature of Cloudgate takes those unyielding, massive vertical lines and bends them.
It physically distorts them.
Exactly. It warps the skyline along its surface, softening the harsh architecture and physically bringing the reflection of the tops of those buildings down to your eye level.
Oh, I see. It domesticates the skyline.
That's a great way to put it.
It takes these intimidating monoliths and turns them into something you can almost wrap your arms around.
Exactly. And because it relies entirely on reflection, the image is never static.
It's always moving.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, there is a brilliant parallel to be drawn here with the Art Institute of Chicago, which is located just a few blocks down the street from Millennium Park.
Oh, sure, the museum.
The Art Institute houses one of the world's foremost collections of Impressionist art, artists like Monet and Seurat.
Wait, are you saying this sculpture is like a painting?
In a very real way, Cloudgate functions as a giant three-dimensional Impressionist canvas.
Impressionism is all about capturing the subjective, fleeting experience of light and movement, rather than painting a perfect, rigid photograph.
Exactly.
So you're saying the sculpture acts as an impressionist painter for the city?
It does. The contour, the shape, the extreme angles of the reflection, the shifting natural and artificial light, all of these variables alter the image constantly.
It's never the same twice.
Novik states this beautifully in the essay. He writes that it creates a new painting with every passing moment constantly renewing itself and capturing the ever-changing landscape and energy of the city, as well as the fleeting, ephemeral nature of human existence.
A new painting with every passing moment. That is really poetic.
It really captures the essence of the piece.
If you visit in the morning, the harsh light hitting the steel creates a completely different mood than at high noon. Oh, absolutely.
At night, when the street lamps illuminate Michigan Avenue, the entire boulevard reflects in the metal with this warm amber glow.
It's gorgeous at night.
And my absolute favorite detail is how it interacts with the seasons.
Oh, the winter time.
Yeah, in the winter, there's an ice rink that rests right beneath it in front of the park grill. The white ice reflects off the bottom of the steel, while the bleak winter sky reflects off the top.
It is literally an art piece that records the passage of time.
It captures movement and weather and light, but, a shifting impressionist painting isn't entirely complete without its final, most important subject.
Right. You need the human element.
The people. You cannot talk about Cloudgate without talking about how people behave around it.
It's impossible to ignore.
Anyone who has ever visited knows exactly what happens. You walk into the park, you approach this massive silver droplet, you walk under that 12-foot high arch beneath the center, which Kapoor calls the omphalos, or navel,
Right.
and immediately, instinctively, you take out a camera.
It is an almost irresistible urge. It really is.
Countless photos have been taken by tourists and lifelong Chicagoans alike, aiming their lenses directly at the steel shell.
They are photographing a reflection of themselves taking a photograph. It's this endless loop.
Yeah, the giant selfie mirror.
On the surface, that might just sound like modern narcissism or vanity. But being there, it doesn't feel vain. It feels participatory.
That is a crucial distinction. Cloudgate is a work of art that fundamentally forces the viewer to become part of the medium.
Because you literally see yourself in it.
Because of the curvature, it takes you, the citizen, the visitor, slightly distorted like you're in a funhouse mirror, and drops you right into the middle of the reflected Michigan Avenue skyline and the wide Midwestern sky.
It's the ultimate unifier.
Yeah.
It takes every essential element of 21st century Chicago life, the historical architecture, the natural weather, the modern technology of the city lights, and the human beings living in that exact fleeting moment, and unites them all on one single continuous canvas.
And it achieves this unity on a scale that demands your attention.
It's not something you can just ignore.
No. In an interview, Anish Kapoor once discussed the philosophy behind this kind of massive public work. He said he has always believed that, in the end, sculpture is an heroic art, and that he doesn't think Michelangelo was wrong about that.
Heroic art? I like that.
To Kapoor, large scale is a fundamental tool of the medium.
The scale of dreams. It takes a heroic scale to compete with a city like Chicago.
It really does.
And when you think about Chicago's origins, it makes perfect sense that a massive, audacious piece like this would resonate there.
Oh, without a doubt.
This is a city that was essentially built on a swampy, smelly prairie by 19th century speculators.
They started from nothing.
They had nothing but flat marshland, and they looked at it and decided to invent the skyscraper.
Talk about ambition.
Right. They built the tallest buildings in the world out of the mud. Chicago has always dreamed on a massive, heroic scale.
Which is why the marriage between the city's ambition and Kapoor's $23 million vision was a match made in heaven.
It fit perfectly.
A smaller, safer piece of art would have been completely swallowed whole by the towering skyline and the aggressive, loud energy of the streets.
It would have just disappeared.
Cloudgate holds its ground because it has the physical mass, the literal weight, and the audacious perfection to anchor the space.
It really is a triumph of both engineering and imagination.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So we've taken quite a journey today, tracking the evolution of Millennium Park from an industrial rail yard to a $500 million development project.
A pretty wild ride.
We saw how a stainless steel music pavilion was supposed to be the star, only to be upstaged by a 110-ton droplet of liquid mercury.
The accidental icon.
Exactly. A piece of art that seamlessly blends heavy industrial metallurgy with fluid, organic nature to serve as a constantly renewing impressionist mirror for the city and its people.
It's a powerful reminder that the best public art isn't just placed in a city. It absorbs and reflects the city.
So what does this all mean for you? Next time you are walking through your own city or town, take a closer look at the local monuments, the statues, the public art you usually walk right past.
Give it a second glance.
Great public art isn't just something you passively look at. It's a lens. It's something that forces you to see your everyday environment, the buildings you usually ignore, the sky you forget to look up at, and even your own reflection completely differently.
It really grounds you.
It forces you to be present in the space you occupy.
That active participation is what keeps art alive. But before we wrap up, this deep dive into Novik's essay and Cloudgate raises one final, lingering question for you to ponder.
Oh, I love a good lingering question.
It's something that wasn't explicitly answered in the text, but naturally flows from it.
Lay it on us.
We've established that Cloudgate perfectly captures and reflects the majestic, visible elements of a city.
Right, the stuff you can see.
It catches the sweeping sky, the bustling people, the towering heroic architecture. It reflects the postcard version of urban life. But if an artist were to try and create a sculpture that reflected the hidden, internal, or unseen life of a city, the quiet daily struggles, the isolated moments in crowded subway cars, the gritty realities we don't put on tourism brochures, what on earth would that sculpture look like?
That is a tough one.
What shape would it take? And what material could possibly capture the invisible pulse of a city's inner life?
Wow. How do you cast the unseen in bronze or steel? That is definitely a thought to chew on.
Good luck figuring that one out.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up today's exploration. Keep looking closely at the art around you. Keep questioning the world. And remember, sometimes a giant piece of metal is exactly what a city needs to find its beating heart. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.